The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.
What's going on, guys? How are you? Welcome back to episode 7, season 3 of the Paper Trails podcast. I am very pumped and excited to have our guest, Carlos Abrahams with Crav'n Caribbean out of Charlotte, North Carolina, to just talk business, talk food, talk about your company, how you started, kind of all the ins and outs. Super pumped. A little bit of a hiatus. Apologize. Christmas, fourth quarter gets a little busy for restaurants.
Absolutely.
And so, but we're excited. We're back. 2024 is here. And we're excited to have a number of guests on for you guys to just learn more about the food space and restaurants and food trucks and kind of the whole industry. So thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you. So yeah, let's just start with this, Carlos. Let's talk a little bit about maybe your background, how you ended up even considering, having your shop, Crav'n Caribbean. You guys have phenomenal product. I've heard from other friends of mine about what you guys do, which is awesome. It's always a good thing when there's so much popularity around what you do that you learn from other people, influencers and such. And so, have you always been into food? How did everything come about?
So I got into food because of my mom. So watching her cook growing up is where I developed the passion for it. But I didn't really take it seriously until I got out of the Marine Corps.
Okay. Appreciate you serving. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How was that, the Marine Corps?
It was good.
You
Definitely
liked
a
it?
great time.
Difficult?
Absolutely. I would do it again. Difficult, but it's worth it.
Love it. Okay. And are you from North Carolina, from Charlotte?
So originally I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I lived in New York for a short stint. Lived majority of my time in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay.
And the Marine Corps is what brought me to North Carolina. So I was stationed in Cherry Point, which is in Havelock, North Carolina.
Okay. And I figured you liked it enough that you stayed?
I didn't really like it enough that I stayed. It's kind of just opportunities came by.
Okay.
So after I got out of the military, I got into the car business. So I was selling cars, did really well at that.
Okay.
Had an opportunity to become a manager at a Honda dealership there, and then kind of stuck around because of that.
Okay. So Marine Corps, car business, nothing in food so far.
No.
Did you work in restaurants growing up at all or no?
No.
So literally just your mom's kind of home cooking and kind of was like the inspiration?
Yes.
Okay. So so you're doing well. You're at a dealership. You're managing a store. Whatever. How did the thought of even, getting into the food space even come up? What was it?
So it was a few things. So one, my wife at the time, she wanted to like do something here in Charlotte. So she had a salon in New Bern, North Carolina, and then she was also traveling hair to do here. So she ended up liking Charlotte. We talked about it a few times, and I liked what I was doing in the car business, but it was kind of getting to that point where I felt like something was missing. Didn't really know what it was.
Okay.
So it was kind of her push, and we just decided to move here to Charlotte in 2019.
Okay.
And then I got cold feet, got back into the car business, and then January of 2020 is when I decided I'm going full force. So I quit that job.
Okay.
And went into just selling plates full time.
Selling what?
Selling plates.
Oh, food.
Individual
Okay.
plates.
But okay, so you were already doing a little bit of it on the side, or no?
No, I wasn't doing anything on the side. So I literally just stopped cold turkey.
How did the thought even come up of let me get in the food business?
Because it's something I've always wanted to do. So I've always cooked at home and doing different things like that, and just posting on social media and just getting feedback from that. And then she also knew at the time it's something that I really wanted to do. So she was like, okay, just go ahead and take the leap of faith.
So there was a little inspiration, kind of throughout your life, a little interest.
Yes.
But nothing full blown where you're like, all right.
Yeah.
So literally from home cook to selling plates.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Love it. So tell us about that. Starting a business. Did you know how to start a business? Because, I guess our story as well, my cousin, we were 22 and 18 when we started, our distribution company. And man, to say we were lost would be an understatement. We just didn't know what we were getting into. You were a little more seasoned. You've worked at a couple of different spots. You had done well. What was it like kind of starting over again from scratch?
It was rough. It was
Tell
rough.
us, okay, here's why I kind of want you to dive in a little bit into it, because there's people that are listening right now that want to make a jump, maybe they're stuck in a career and jumping off or climbing off the ladder and climbing a new ladder is really scary. It's not easy. You're starting over. You are going to take a pay cut. You know what I mean? What were your thoughts on it? What were the feelings that you had? What were the experiences? Did you want to give up? Did you push through? Did you hit some walls? Give us a little taste of that.
So definitely wanted to give up a few times. So especially talking about the car business at that time when I got out of the Marine Corps and I first got in the car business, I was working at a Cadillac dealership. Doing really well there. I ended up being one of the top salespeople. So that's why I got recruited to the Honda dealership. So I'm there doing good. My first time ever making 6 figures. So that was kind of hard. So literally moving from that and then jumping into say, hey, I'm going to drive around the city and sell plates full time in Charlotte. Everybody told me I was crazy. So I went from making a little bit over 100,000 at first when I was working in the car business.
Sure.
To my first year driving around Charlotte selling plates, I barely scratched 40K. So there was definitely times I wanted to give up.
Sure.
There was times where I had to throw away food, but I had to keep on pushing through it. Like I had a goal, I had a mission. I would drive around and deliver to people for free.
Yeah.
I was doing anything to get my name out there. I was going to barbershops, nail salons, dealerships, anywhere that I knew that people could not leave for lunch every single day. I was, trying to fill that void. And that's kind of how we built it up.
It's pretty smart. Yeah. It's a pretty clever way, just finding a niche and finding an audience that's a captive audience that you can kind of go and talk to and kind of get your name out there. And so, listen, in the beginning, you're willing to do anything to get your name out there, your brand, your food, all that stuff. So, year one was difficult.
Very difficult.
Talk about year two. Like, what are some things that you learned starting out, your first 6 to 12 months? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you, things that you learned about the business, operating a business? Because it's, I guess I've realized there's a difference between like just making good food and then running a business and keeping it profitable, right?
Yes.
What are some things that you learned kind of in both those areas about food, plating, distribution, deliveries, and then also running a business, staying profitable, price point, stuff like that?
Yep. So I learned price point is very important. When I first started out driving around selling plates, it was easy because I didn't have any overhead really. So
it was just you.
Other than it was just me, and then other than the food that I was getting, you know, so I was selling plates for $10. Didn't really realize that I wasn't making any money until the end of the year when I realized, okay, I made this amount, but then, you scratch 40K, but then you still have to subtract what you spent from that. So
so it's 40K in sales, not
40K
income.
in sales. So
Gotcha. Okay.
So really, when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I really didn't make anything. I probably really lost money when I added gas and everything like that.
Yeah.
So learning over time, I learned that, okay, I had to set my standards and make sure my quality's there. So setting standards and then learning pricing. So that's when I really started learning and diving deep into like, okay, how do restaurants operate? Like, okay, you want to be in the 20 to 33% range as far as food costs.
Yeah.
So learning stuff like that and just digging deep, like watching YouTube videos, learning from other restaurateurs. Like I follow Pinky Cole a lot, seeing how she marketed herself. So then I learned how to market myself. So marketing myself, I learned that first before anything else, to be honest. I didn't really understand the numbers. I'm still learning today.
Sure.
But along the way, I didn't really understand the numbers. It was really just marketing myself and setting my pricing. So for that and our quality that we kept on putting out, people like it. Word of mouth gets out there, social media. Yeah. And then the presentation. So a lot of people will just look and see our pictures online and like, okay, I want to try that. And then from there, you just keep on learning every day.
Yeah, so you were attacking multiple different angles.
Yes.
Branding, pricing, learning, your YouTube, you're mimicking other people. So you were doing what you could to just get your name out there, but non-negotiable was quality of food, plating, presentation, all that stuff. And so, listen, first off, you said you're still learning. We're all still learning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're 15 years in and we're like, dang, I didn't know that, you know? So, but yeah, I love that. So year one, going into year two, things got smoother, you got busier, anything year two. You guys started when? How long ago did you guys start? So
officially in a physical location, we started July of 2021 is when I started operating out of the City Kitch.
So two years ago, a little over.
Yes.
What are some things that you learned from year two? Anything stands out to you? Maybe like that you started dialing in and you're like, okay, cool. Or so you moved into City Kitch, which is a commissary where you can actually rent like a kitchen. So did you notice that like you needed a space? Like was it how did that happen? Like
yes, we noticed that we needed a space because what happened is after a while I'm starting to drive around and selling plates all these different places, and then I'm getting like more and more calls, and I'm like, okay, at some point I can't keep up because one,
Yeah.
I'm doing it out of my house. I only have but so much space to cook.
Exactly.
So I was like, I need more equipment, things like that. So as the demand grew, I was like, okay, I'm just going to take a leap of faith. I didn't really know for sure how it was going to work out.
Sure.
And then from there, I pretty much picked up and started doing it out of the kitchen by myself. Then I hired Alex, who was now my general manager, but he started off with me part-time. But now he runs the Charlotte location. And year 2 was a drastic difference.
Okay, tell us, like, what happened in year 2?
So year 2, I think we did in sales was like 242.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's you got 5x, like, you know,
Yes.
Tremendous difference.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So was that just because people have started to learn you and your product and your business and your brand? Was,
Yes.
Was there, any other thing that maybe just kind of helped you guys?
Yeah, so I was learning more about like marketing. So I really went into like heavy on social media. So 2022 we did about 242, and I'm just like learning. Okay, social media is where it's at. This is this was helping us.
Perfect.
And then I think at that point too, 2022 is when our oxtail cheesesteak went viral.
Okay.
So
is that what you're famous now?
Yeah,
like,
that's
what
we're known for.
Okay.
So that's what we're known for. So we've always been known for oxtail. The first time is when it really started taking off is we did a collaboration with a food truck here called Mariah's Taco Spot.
Okay.
And we did oxtail tacos.
Okay.
So what we did was, of course, I would cook the oxtail, and then we actually blended the burrito with the oxtail gravy for the dipping sauce.
Okay.
So that kind of went crazy, and this had both of us going viral all throughout the city. And then shortly after that, we dropped the oxtail cheesesteak, and then that went super viral. So that's what really blew us up for 2022, and why we were able to do that. And then I'll basically say this, from 2022 to 2023, we've like grown 300% from 2022.
That's amazing. So I like the idea of like collaborating, partnering, working with. I mean, it's just, I guess if someone's listening to this, yes, you have to work in the business, but I think sometimes, Carlos, if you agree with this, you have to work on the business.
Yes.
Like you have to step a couple steps back and look at like, okay, what do we need? How can we grow? How can we continue branding? What can help us go viral and make us known? Because restaurants is competitive, man. I mean, I feel like, especially in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, there's hundreds of restaurants that open every single year, so you've got to find a competitive edge and advantage. And so I really like that you guys were creative and were like, you know what? But how did you even, okay, so you did the oxtail collab, and then how did the cheesesteak idea come about?
So the cheesesteak came about was, the thing about oxtail is after you cook it for a while, and if you've been sitting in the warmer after a while, because you're cooking it down to be tender, it's gonna start falling off the bone at some point. So we were trying to figure out ways to reduce waste. So at the time, I was talking to my friend, Daily Special, Corey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
We were talking one night, and he was like, man, you got to do something else with it. You already did the tacos, you should do a sandwich. And I was like, oh, perfect. I used to live in Delaware, and I traveled back and forth to Philly a lot. So I was like, okay, how can you flip the Philly cheesesteak? And I was like, we'll just put the oxtail meat in it. So we did that, put the oxtail in there. And this is another thing I'll tell you if you're an entrepreneur, especially in the restaurant industry space, is stop waiting for perfection and just post your content.
I love that.
Because that video, I didn't do any editing. I didn't think about it, anything. Like, it was literally like a 5-second video I took of it, and I honestly didn't like the way the sandwich looked. I picked the sound on TikTok and I posted it, and then next thing you know, I wake up the next morning, it's 100,000 views,
Dang.
200,000, 300,000, and next thing you know, it's at 3 million. And that catapulted us, and I've spent time editing videos and doing different things.
Yeah.
And that video that literally took me no time is the one that went viral. So you have to just continuously promote yourself because you never know.
Yeah.
And we just found our niche, and we kind of stuck with it. It's like, okay, oxtail is the move. So we just started doing a bunch of different flips with oxtail. And then, like, literally, like I said, from 2022 to 2023, we've grown 300%. So we were like 100K away from hitting $1 million in sales last year.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. I mean, and you know what? There's so much truth to what you just said right now about, there's something that I say to like some friends of mine where people tend to overthink. Now, listen, is it good to have good quality content? Sure. Is it good to? Sure. But I think sometimes we overanalyze, we overthink, we try to perfect absolutely everything. And it's like, you know what? Act first, think second. Don't overthink some stuff. You know what I mean? Just now, I mean, if it's a big decision, okay, think about it. We're not saying jump to any conclusions, and but there's something to just taking action that nothing else can overtake it, right?
Yes.
Like just taking action. Like just start. If you want to get healthier, if you want to start a side business, landscaping, just buy a lawnmower, borrow a lawnmower, just make a post, make a flyer, just do, right? And so I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, to be honest with you, man. I feel like that's kind of how I feel sometimes. It's like, I don't know exactly how to navigate what I want to do, but I know where I want to go. I want to increase numbers, increase revenue. I want to hire some people to make my life a little easier. I want to help this person out, whatever. It's like, just go and we'll just say yes and we'll figure it out, right?
Yep.
Anything you want to add to that,
I just say just post your content. It's good to have a mixture of it, because we have videos that we've had, professionally shot as well. But it's just about having the mixture, and it's about getting started. I think a lot of the times, especially when you're passionate about something, you're shooting for that perfection. But as someone that strives for perfection every single day, I'm telling you that you're not always going to get it. And sometimes you just have to put it out there, because we tend to think of things from our perspective, but you have to think about what the customer wants to see.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, they're scrolling on social media and seeing a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't look like anything any day. So if you just find a way to catch their attention, that's all you really need. It's all about captivating your audience. And once you do that, then it changes everything.
I love that. Okay, so you guys are growing. You have a brand now. I think you guys are looking at other locations. Is that right?
We have 2 locations now. We have Charlotte and then Greensboro.
Okay.
So we just opened up the Greensboro location November 18th of last year.
Okay.
And then
now tell us about your thought process there. Did you just realize that, okay, I can only do so much out of one location? We got to divert. What was your mindset between having a second location?
Customer demand. So we have a lot of customers that drive from Greensboro all the time. So and then they kept on telling us on social media, hey, we drove from Greensboro today. Hey, when are you guys going to open a location in Greensboro? So many people kept on asking about it. It was like, okay, well, maybe it's time. So my goal was based on my own thought process. I was like, okay, if I can see that Charlotte's doing a certain amount of revenue by this date, then we'll shoot for Greensboro. Now, my goal was to be open for 2 years before we did that, because I wanted to make sure that just in case Greensboro didn't take off right away, Charlotte would have enough revenue to be able to function and keep up with both locations until we get it where we need to be.
You know what, Carlos, I think that's something that a lot of owners sometimes don't think about. You got to take calculated risks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it's like, I think sometimes we overbite. We're gonna over leverage ourselves, and then which is when you get caught sometimes, because you know what? No business is 100% up all the time. I mean, there's ebbs and flows in anything, and it's like you don't want to get caught. You don't want to be able to pay your staff or just develop any kind of reputation like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I love that. That's awesome. Question real fast. I want to take it back a little bit. Do you think there's anything that you learned in the military that maybe has helped you as an entrepreneur? I'm not just curious for myself now.
Absolutely. Punctuality is the biggest thing. So one thing for me is, especially when we have caterings, my staff knows I'm very easy to work with, but when it comes to caterings, I don't play. I mean, everyday operation is the same thing, but we're never late for a catering. Like if you need us to be there by 11, we're gonna be there by 10:30 set up. Like we don't play that. Because I think that helped me from the military a lot, because there was always a thing about being 15 minutes prior to 15 minutes prior.
Yeah.
So for me, it shows the customer, one, you value their time and it's very important. And they're most likely going to book you again. If you're already there and you're ready and they see that, it just shows a different level of professionalism that they're going to really respect you for it and want to book you again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a thing to be, I love that. There's a thing about being punctual, on time. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to be like this. I mean, first off, I'm not old, but this guy that says, "Oh, the next generation," it's like, no, but yes, there is a respect of time when someone orders a big meal and wants you to cater it, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we got we have meetings, this and that," and then bam, we're having lunch scheduled at this time for 45 minutes, whatever. They expect you to be ready, right?
Yes.
So you said 15 minutes before the 15 minutes, or was it 30 minutes early? Is that what's taught in the military?
That's what's taught in the military. So basically, what you would have is you have different levels of chain of command, right? So you might have your staff NCO. So it might come from the top where they say, hey, formation is going to be at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Your staff NCO is going to tell us that we need to be there at 09:45. Then the NCO is going to tell you that you need to be there at 09:30. So that's where the 15 minutes prior to 15 minutes prior comes. Is whatever time they tell you, they're going to add 15 minutes onto it. So you're always going to be early for whatever the time that you were told. So,
I did not know that. That's hilarious, though. That's good. I love that. Okay. That's awesome, man. Okay, so obviously some military stuff. I love that. Punctual, work ethic, I'm sure, but cool, man. Okay, so if somebody wants to try something from your spot, what is the number? I'm assuming the cheesesteak, the oxtail cheesesteak?
Yeah, that's the number one seller right now.
Okay.
Pretty much anything oxtail on our menu, but we also do have an infusion dish that we did, the oxtail fried rice. And the cool thing about that is we have a bunch of different topping options where people love. So you can get it topped with jerk lamb chops. You can get it topped with more oxtail. You can get it topped with jerk shrimp. There's a bunch of different combinations that we have that's taken off. And that's probably really growing to be like our number 2 right now. So our oxtail plates, of course, are number 2 as far as sales right now. Just
love
because
it.
People love it. And it's a big hefty plate, so you get a lot of food.
Love it.
A lot of people just love the idea of trying the cheesesteak, so it's an experience.
I love that, man. I love that. Okay, well let's wrap up. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a chance to talk to the audience. 2024, it's a new year. People, kind of rethink about goals and getting out of their comfort zone and having new expectations for themselves. Talk to the person who feels a little stuck right now. They're just, kind of what you said you were. You kind of felt a little bit just, I don't want to say empty or kind of like, something was missing. Like there's a little itch that you needed to scratch, starting your own business, becoming an entrepreneur. Obviously it's not easy. Obviously it's difficult, but maybe one piece of advice for that person, kind of, if they were where you were a couple of years ago, any thoughts, recommendations, suggestions, and it could be anything, not even in our space, but in any industry. What are the starting points? 1, 2, 3. What are some things that they can start doing to work themselves out of something that they're miserable into more of something that they would love to be doing?
So I would say the first step is trying to figure out what your passion is. And I think the biggest way to figure out what your passion is, at the end of the day, we all have bills that we got to take care of, right? But you have to look at yourself. And if you were to take the money completely away from the whole aspect of everything, what would be the decision of your path that you would want to take? That's how you figure out your passion. Because all that other stuff will come, right? Not saying that you're going to be a millionaire, but you got to think about it. Like, there's a reason why teachers do what they do. They don't get paid the best, but they have a passion for it.
That's true.
So you have to take the money aside and be like, okay, if I don't make this amount of money, what would make me happy? If I get up every single day, I'll do this no matter what I make. And that's the thing, is like everything else is a bonus. So like for me, even though it was a struggle, I was getting up every day and doing something that I absolutely love. Fortunately, it's paid off for me,
sure,
that way too, but it wasn't because of that. Because honestly, if I would have stayed in the car business, I would have probably been in the 2 to 3 years making $250,000 as a GM.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't something that was for me at that time anymore.
Yeah.
So you just have to figure out what that thing is that you really want to do, and just don't give up. That's the biggest thing. You're looking at someone right now that did not give up.
I love that.
So
yeah,
that
man.
would be my advice.
I really enjoy saying, or I mention this a lot. How do you stop a man that doesn't know how to give up? You can't, bro. Like, you will win at some point, whether it was year 2 or year 3 for you or year 13. For us, it was about 5 years. Yeah. It was like year 4, year 5 when we really got some traction and got enough customers we could pay ourselves something. It took a little while, longer than I thought actually. But yeah, man, like if you just don't stop, and listen, if you don't stop, be mindful, get better. Like work on your skills. There's some things that you got to get better at. Like if you're horrible at, photography, and 10 years later you're still bad at it, bro, like something's wrong. Like you've got to get your skills better and collab and get creative and stuff like that. But it takes no talent to not give up.
Yep.
It just takes determination and commitment. You know what I mean?
Yep. And to touch on 2 things that you said.
Go ahead.
Another very important thing is comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Yes.
So I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we'll look at somebody else and like, well, they're there. Why am I not there yet?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a very thing that you have to nip in the butt very early, and really realize that if God has it for you, your time is coming. It's all in His timing, right? So
Amen.
You can't look at somebody else and, oh, they've grown this amount of time, and I've been grinding, I've been doing this, and it's not happening for me yet. You never know when your time is.
That's it.
So it doesn't matter if it takes you 10 years or 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to keep grinding, because there's no way I knew that this was going to happen in the time that it did. But you have to keep pushing through it. And then another thing is just like how you said about like collaboration and stuff like that. Also, don't be afraid to learn from someone else, because I've learned from people that are like from outside looking in, people look at that I'm doing better than them, but that doesn't mean that they don't have knowledge that I can still use from.
100%.
So like Mariah's taco spot, she helped me learn how to get better at content. So you can pull from other people. So your network is your net worth. So you have to learn to like work with other people, and it doesn't always mean that that person they might not even have a business, but they might know content. They might not own a business, but they might know how to manage money.
Yes.
So you cannot look at someone else as less than because they don't have the things that you have. So you have to find a way to like find the right people that can help you in different areas, because someone out there has knowledge that you might not know, and you can't always think that you know it all.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, and you may be an expert at one thing, but the guy next to you is an expert at something totally different.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I really love the comparison thing you just said. First of all, I don't think that's talked about enough. You're 100% right. Like, you know, it is like a natural thing to compare, you know, oh, well, look at this guy. Well, he went viral. I didn't go viral. Why did he go viral? I have a better product than he does. Why? Like, bro, no, that's their situation. That's their story. Like, it's okay.
Yep.
Like, there's enough. And the other thing I think sometimes we don't think about is that there's enough for all of us to win.
Absolutely.
There's enough food. There's enough money out there, man. I mean, we don't have to be, you know, putting people down or killing each other. Or just, bro, we can all eat.
Yep.
There's plenty of money to be made out there for all of us to do well and take care of our families. You know, so I think that's another thing that maybe people think about, where it's like, well, because he's doing well, I can't do well. No, who said that? Like, who put that thought in your mind? Yeah. You know, so.
And there's a perfect example for it out there right now, and even in the fashion industry. You have North Face is a well-known brand. You have Gucci is already a well-known brand.
Yeah.
They did a collaboration together. They don't need each other. Technically, if you look at their numbers, they really don't need each other.
Okay.
But they've also seen the key that collaboration is better, because now what happens is you have the North Face customer market is now going to look at the Gucci market.
Sure.
The Gucci customer market is also going to look at theirs. So all they did was basically cross over their clientele, which is better for both of them.
100%.
So the same thing works in any business. So you can collaborate with another restaurant, do different things. It doesn't mean that they're going to take away from anything that you have. You have to have that mindset to know that if God has something for you, it's for you. And you can still work with other people, and help each other grow.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be competition. Competition is fun, but collaboration is key. If you have companies like that who've been around for years that don't need each other can collaborate, why can't you as a small business do it with someone else?
100%. I didn't even know about that collaboration. So, bro, this is awesome. I love this. Okay. People can reach out to you, you know, your handles, you know, Instagram is the biggest, or, you know, Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram is our biggest. We have about like 158,000 followers.
Okay, so reach out to these guys on Instagram, TikTok, you know, whatever. Come by, try the food. Listen, I thought this was fantastic. Honestly, I think there's so many gems that you just talked about throughout the whole thing. You know, punctual, quality, presentation, collaboration, networking, there's so many things that people can take from this. No matter what space you're in, you can learn from this. You can learn and just become 1% better. Just get a little bit better. And, you know, listen, I think, you know, this is my opinion, but I think when you get better, there's hope, because you've improved and gotten better, and life in general will be better. Like, I think when there's hope, there's more positivity and more, you know, so I want people to be hopeful. I want people to get better at their craft and see kind of a future and get better and make more money and take care of their family. So, brother, this was incredible. I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. You guys got to check out Carlos and his staff at Crav'n Caribbean. They got Greensboro location now open. If you're in that area, Raleigh, Cary, that area, anywhere in the Triad, check these guys out. Where are you at in Greensboro exactly?
601 Milner Drive, Greensboro, North Carolina, 27410.
And they can order?
They can order on our website at cravncaribbean.com. Both locations are on the website, so all you have to do is one landing page. You just select which location that you're trying to order from.
Perfect. Appreciate you guys. Episode 8, Season 3 in the books. We'll see you guys soon with the next episode.
The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.